Yeah.
With Arman Tsarukyan weighing in as the backup, is he getting back in the good graces with you and the?
Well, it's not about getting back in the good graces. It's about, the guy had the opportunity to fight for a title and didn't make weight. You couldn't fuck up anything worse than that.
Once again, it's not about getting in the good graces. The guy had the opportunity to fight for a title, and he didn't make weight. You can't mess up any worse than that. Not only that, but he pulled out of the fight. He left them high and dry without a fight. You could have missed weight, and you could have fought. But this is the thing about Arman that I put out there when it happened back last year. Arman is somewhat, this is where spoiledness came into play, because he said, if I can't win the title, then I don't want to even step in the octagon. So I'm going to pull out of the fight. Which is just really disgusting. It's really disgusting work. And I didn't even mean to come on here and say that, but as I'm just kind of getting into it right now, that's disgusting work. So that's why guys like Demetrius Johnson, which is also funny because Demetrius has a YouTube channel, so he knows exactly how the UFC is run, because the UFC is run in likes of how you run a YouTube channel. Why in the world would you throw Arman in there, a fight that might not even go through because he showed before that he can't fucking make it? Then you're going to book Paddy against someone else. He might lose that, and then the promotion loses money because they don't get the fight that's already been set up, already facing off in the octagon. Why would they do that? It makes no sense on any level. And then saying but he's the number one contender. Why? Because he made weight after he pulled out of a fight and left the UFC high and dry? He wasn't the number one contender before he made weight. You don't just keep that spot when you pull out like that. Dana's been very clear about that. Arman needs another fight. All right? And we could have maybe booked Arman against, someone, but I'll get into that on another episode on the Wednesday show probably. We could talk about that. Let's just finish this clip though.
But he proved, now that he's not fighting for the title and he was here as a backup fighter, he made weight, so it's definitely a step in the right direction.
A step in the right direction. So Dana couldn't have been more clear here if you really listen. It's a step in the right direction. He just got asked if he's, if Arman's next for the title because he made weight. And this is what Dana just said. It's a step in the right direction. So that means you got more work to do. Translation for you. Okay, so then Dana's being funny here, and I think I know what he's up to, but let's just play it.
He called in Paddy Pimblett and brought him into the cage, and they had a face-off. Obviously, they've got a long history together. I know there's a lot of options on the table for Ilia, but when he shows that type of interest in a fight, does that make you want to make it?
Well, I don't know who the hell let him in there. That should have never happened. Let's start there. I was already back in my room, or that would have never happened. But
it's didn't Dana put the title around Ilia? Maybe I could be wrong here, but Dana puts the title around Ilia and just fucking storms out of the cage. Fucking hang around there, bro. What do you got to do?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really think about that stuff tonight, other than, obviously the Van fight. But, we'll see. We'll see how this plays out.
We'll see how this plays out. So I don't know what's going on with Dana. I think that he knows more behind the scenes. What my guess is that there is some type of negotiation that needs to be had. That's my guess. The way he answers that question, not being all in on it, means that somebody's contract is not necessarily there yet. Somebody's got a deal that's about to be up and they're trying to renegotiate. And so it's almost like, if we can get this deal done and they don't outprice themselves, then we can make the fight happen. But if not, then we'll probably just, go ahead and swoop Arman in there. That's my guess. And, that's what you got to do with Dana. You got to read between the lines. It's never what comes to face value. Dana, all that glazing, everybody was asking him, why are you glazing John Jones? Here's the reason why. Because he wanted the John Jones versus Aspinall fight. You can't piss off John. All right, so that's that part of the clip. And that's pretty much it from Dana as far as the Paddy versus Ilia fight goes. But I'm just here to tell you that Dana White is completely on board with it, as long as, he can get each fighter to not outprice themselves before this fight happens. Because, again, you're talking about a title fight, right? So there's a chance that Paddy could ask for more money. There's a chance that Ilia might try to renegotiate now, especially Ilia, right? Because a guy like Ilia, you got to think about it like a McGregor. You got to renegotiate after every fight, right? After every fight. And again, if he's renegotiating after every fight, Ilia, then he's getting more and more money after every fight, rightfully so. You give him the biggest fight possible because that's what's going to recoup your dollars that you're paying him. For example, Paddy the Baddie, the little English kid, if you're prime. Paddy doesn't deserve a title shot. Just beating like Michael Chandler isn't enough. Arman's dying with Ilia. Also, Dana glazes Paddy. He shouldn't have a title shot yet. Beating Michael Chandler isn't a huge thing. So, Prime, you're not into the title shot, and I think a lot of people aren't. I think I'm a silent majority. And that's why you got to tune in on Wednesday, Prime, because MTK is usually representative of the opposite side of where I'm at, if I'm just being dead honest. So, in a way, hear what my co-host has to say on Wednesday. But I think that even according to the poll I did last night, immediately after the fight, after Paddy won in the octagon, he was only like 55% voted up, winning by 5%. So, or what do you call that, 10%. So, I do kind of think there's a lot of demand for Arman right now. But me personally, I'm not seeing it. But I'm just one person. You feel me? You think that, let me ask you this, Prime, let me ask you this, or anyone else watching right now. You think that Arman shouldn't fight one more time, although he left the UFC high and dry and didn't even fight for that title, because if he missed weight, that means he wouldn't have been able to be eligible to win the title. And that's why he ultimately didn't even show up to the fight. So with that caveat, you're telling me that he just still deserves that title shot? Because Dana's saying he doesn't, though. That's also where I'm cluing it in. Dana said that's a step in the right direction. So even aside from what you want, right? I'll put aside what I want. Dana's saying it's a step in the right direction isn't a confirmation that Arman's next. And it's funny because he fucking doesn't confirm Arman's next, doesn't confirm Paddy's next, fucking says what Justin Gaethje's saying is wacky. It's like he's super uncommittal.
Justin Gaethje said that if he doesn't get a title shot, that he'd be thinking about retiring, and that he's basically inferring that you guys owe him a favor for him stepping in for UFC 300. I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Listen, everybody has their opinions on. Listen, if you're thinking about retiring, you know how I feel about that. You should probably retire. We love Justin Gaethje, and Justin Gaethje did step up, and he's been an exciting, fun fighter to have here in the UFC. But to say, hey, listen, unless you give me a title shot, I'm retiring. That's pretty wacky.
It's low-key a little bit wacky. He admitted that he did help him out for UFC 300. He admitted, he did step up because Gaethje said that they showed up to his house begging him to fight Holloway. Dana basically said, yeah, that's true. We will take care of you, but come on, a title shot, bro, relax. So, again, shutting down Gaethje, shutting down Arman, saying that Paddy shouldn't have gone in the octagon. But then Dana later said his biggest thing, he kind of cleared it up, and so you got to read between the lines again. Dana said, my biggest thing is that Paddy had his wife and his kid in there, so, Ilia had his wife and kid in there, so that's why he shouldn't have gone in there. And so, maybe, so it's all kind of, that leads towards Dana's down with the fight. He just didn't want them to face off because Ilia's family was in there, and Ilia had just had a crowning achievement moment, and it didn't need to be ruined by Paddy walking in there. He could have just celebrated himself there. So I really think that's all that was. What's this one?
This is with you and the...
Well, it's not about getting back in the...
Okay, no, we're all good here. Okay, and now, so we only got really one from Ilia.
Tonight, but Paddy Pimblett did come in the cage tonight. Y'all had a little fun. But, there's Arman Tsarukyan, there's Justin Gaethje. Is that the fight that you want more than anything else?
Yes.
Yes, 1,000% yes.
Yes, that's the fight that I want. Because with Charles, I had a little bit difficult situation because I really like the guy, he's a really great human being. You can hate him. You always see him surrounded by his family, friends, teammates. He's an amazing human being. But at the end, I was like, this is competition. I have to do my job, and that's it. But with Paddy, I'm really gonna enjoy kicking his ass.
So this fight's happening, bro. I mean, even just listening to him here, I remember hearing too in another interview he did after the fight, he had to promise the UFC he's not going to go up to 170. So I mean, he promised the UFC he's not going up to 170. You know, now he's not going to get the fight that he's asking for. Like, let's just be real about this. What was I going to say? Also, you know, Ilia, the problem too is that Ilia is so much of a big star right now that, you know, what he wants, it does matter. You know, what he wants matters. What he wants to put effort into a promotion for matters at this point, because at the end of the day, he brings money for the UFC. He prints money for the UFC. So it benefits the UFC to give him a matchup that he wants to be a part of and he wants to promote. You know, Ilia's got a huge name right now, and if Ilia wants to fight Paddy and settle that beef that's been brewing since like 2021, I see no reason not to get in the way of that, and I don't think anyone will. I just think Dana, again, is negotiating when he says the things he says, and maybe he just didn't want the family to get hurt with a potential face-off with a huge beef like that. Makes sense to me. Also, let me just say this. Ilia isn't here, you know, for a long time. He's here for a good time at this point. So it's like if he doesn't have these fights that he really wants to capitalize on, there's no point for him to fight. He's reached that status already. He's there, you know? So he doesn't have to stick around and fight 4 or 5 times defending the title, making 500K. That doesn't work for Ilia, if you guys don't realize that yet. You know, at this point, he's so rich, and it's crazy because he's only defended the title and now he's got a new title, but he's already wealthy as fuck. So he doesn't need to fight for $500,000. In fact, that's almost a waste of his time. And you're about to find that out with the new contract he signs. Then he gets the Paddy fight, signs a new contract. You know what I'm saying? No need, bro. No need. And when you get money like Ilia, like I said, it's not even worth your time. You know, Ilia doesn't even need to fight for anything less than fucking, honestly, probably like $750,000 to $1 million at this point. I feel like he's 100% $1 million fighter at this point. No less. Guaranteed $1 million. You know? And think about it. By the time he beats Paddy and contends for that 170 title, I mean, you're talking about a $5 million guarantee or something crazy. Especially if he knocks out Paddy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. A lot of guys need to just get out. You know, I'll say this too. John Jones. At least John Jones kind of got out. You know, he because obviously Dana wants Tom to knock John Jones's ass out and steal all of his hype, you know? And John kind of was like, nah, I'm good. I won't get knocked out. I'm going to just dip now while I'm ahead. Honestly, I like that MMA fan. Ilia versus Justin. Just going off of Dana White's conference, though, it seems like he wasn't down to give Justin the title fight. It honestly seemed like Dana was mostly inclined to give it to Paddy. But if they were to do Ilia versus Justin, Paddy versus Arman, based off the conversation we've had this evening, I tend to agree with you. I think that's the most fair. You know, but Arman's probably going to mess up that money. But let's see, Paddy beats Arman, then you can't say shit, right? Then you can't say shit going into that Ilia fight like, oh, Paddy's getting starched. You got to call it a 50-50 fight.